I have lost access to all of my combat gear and now I am challenging myself to beat every single boss in RuneScape. In this challenge we'll start from nothing and every time we defeat a boss we need to replace all our equipment with the equipment dropped by that boss. Welcome to Trading Drops. Let's have a look at the challenge ahead of us. The challenge will be completed once we have defeated all of these bosses. The catch is, we can only ever own one item for each equipment slot. Every time we defeat a boss, we have to take all the items from that boss collection log and override our current equipment with those drops. This will result in us having some very bizarre gear combinations and incredible PvM challenges along the way. One final thing. We will also start with no supplies at all, and we can only ever use supplies that can be obtained from a boss's common loot after we have defeated said boss. So let's jump into the challenge. We're starting with one weapon, the bronze two-handed longsword, and we'll be trading this up as we start defeating bosses. The first boss might be quite tricky. We also have one exception in this challenge. Right away, we're starting off with an Essence of Finality, and this is the only equipment slot that we don't have to swap out. Instead, when we have to trade out a weapon and we don't want to lose the special attack, we can override whatever we have in our Essence of Finality with that weapon spec. We really don't have many choices for bosses that we can take out with this type of setup, so we're gonna have to choose carefully. Especially considering we have not unlocked any supplies yet, and so we don't have any way to sustain ourselves or our prayer. So with that said, I've got my eyes set on my first upgrade, which is gonna be the two-handed dragon sword, which we'll be getting from the giant mole. Alright, let's see how we'll do this. I think we'll use a vampirism aura, because that way we can at least have some sort of healing. I actually have a little bit of a strategy here, because we will not be able to outlast this guy if we just take him on normally. So what we'll be doing is we'll be using devotion as much as we can, as well as other defensives. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be running away quite a lot, and then while we're running away, use soul split so we can heal up a little bit. There we go, we got some bleeds going. Now let's run away. And then devotion to get back. Hopefully we can extend this devotion with the minions a little bit. By doing a hurricane here. There we go, that's giving us 13 seconds. I am literally prayer flicking the giant mole right now. Okay, we're at the last phase. We have 15k left, but we don't have much prayer left. This is getting very close. Let's hope we can actually manage to pull it out. We ran out of prayer, 450 HP. Can we do it? Let's run. That was so close! But we did end up clutching it out, and that means we can now upgrade our weapon to a two-handed dragon longsword. Not only that, but we also unlock a ton of supplies with all of the common drops that it drops on this drop table. Most notably our coins, which will allow us to buy anything from shops, and pure essence, which allows us to craft any rune that we want. And with that, we go from a tier 1 weapon all the way to tier 60 with a special attack. The dragon two-hander special attack allows you to do a huge AoE hit. Because we unlock GP by defeating the giant mole, we can now buy supplies from shops that sell them. So we'll be picking up a few super restores, some food, and then some basic super potions. Honestly, with this setup, we can already take on most of the low-level bosses. However, out of all those early level bosses, there is one that stands out that looks to be a very big problem with this specific challenge. And that boss is the Kalphite Queen. You see, the thing is, every time we get a new weapon, we are forced to swap out our current weapon with it. And the Kalphite Queen prays against two separate styles, so we will need two separate styles to take it on. However, there is actually a solution to this little conundrum, and that solution luckily lies with one of the other low-level bosses, and that is Barrows. Here we are at Barrows with our trusty tier 60 weapon. Hopefully we can take this out pretty easily. And honestly, the only really big challenge will be Linza right here, which has a ton of HP and is way stronger than all the other bosses. So let's see if we can take them on. And there we go, that's Linza down. Linza's the only tricky part at Barrows, so all the rest should be pretty smooth and easy. Beating Barrows is giving us some amazing unlocks. First of all, it has sharks and prayer potions on the loot table, so we can use those now from now on. But the main reason we did Barrows so early was so we could take out the Kalphite Queen. And that is because of the equipment. The Barrows collection log contains 7 different equipment sets. All of those sets have different special passive effects, and one of those effects is going to help us beat the Kalphite Queen. That is the Araxxor set. If you're enjoying this video so far, why not drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really do put a ton of time and effort into these videos, and it simply wouldn't be possible without all the support. That is a straight upgrade for our armor slots, but it also does mean we have to say goodbye to our two-handed dragon sword. Because we don't have anything else in the EOF yet, we will be putting it in the EOF. Not sure if we'll get much use out of it though. We are beginning to look like an absolute legend. At this point, I should probably let you know what the Araxxor set does exactly, and why it's going to be the key to let us defeat the Kalphite Queen. As I mentioned before, during the fight, the Kalphite Queen will swap its prayers. This means that you're supposed to use 2 separate combat styles to defeat the boss. However, we only have access to 1 style at a time. The only alternative to this would be Necromancy equipment, but Necromancy is not a part of this challenge at all. We will need a different strategy, and that is exactly where the Araxxor set comes in. If you have the full set, you'll have a set effect where you have a small chance to deal extra damage. And when you get this effect to proc, it will also go through any melee prayers. Therefore, we could use this set to defeat the first phase of the Kalphite Queen like you always would, and then have small chances to proc this effect and deal damage through the melee prayer of the Kalphite Queen. So now that we have full Araxxor, it is time to put our plan into action. Let's jump into the Kalphite Queen hive real quick. And there we go, we can start taking on the first phase, and honestly this part really is kind of the same as any normal fight with the Kalphite Queen. But as we're getting it down to its next phase here, this is where typically you would swap to a different weapon. However, if our strategy works, then we should be able to damage it once every now and then. And there you go, our plan is totally working. Alright, so we can do damage very slowly, but considering the Kalphite Queen is really not that dangerous anymore, we should be able to take it out quite easily. There we go, Kalphite Queen is down. This will be the first time we'll have to downgrade our equipment, because we will have to replace our Araxxor plate body with a dragon chain body. And the same goes for our Araxxor flail, which we'll once again have to replace with a dragon two-handed sword. You might be able to see how this challenge is going to end up with us having incredibly mismatched equipment. I don't really have any idea how challenging this challenge will become in the later bosses, once we start mixing and matching between combat styles. Kalphite Queen was always gonna be a little bit of a conundrum, so it's good to have this one out of the way, and now we can kinda start planning out our next big goal. So I've been looking through all the drop tables of all the bosses that we have available, and one of them really stood out as a massive upgrade for us. That boss is going to be Araxxor. Not only will Araxxor give us a tier 90 weapon of choice, it also has overloads on the drop table. So once we defeat Araxxor, we have overloads for the rest of this challenge. To take on Araxxor, we will need a decent setup of the same style. I already have a plan for it, but before we get into that plan and build our perfect setup for Araxxor, I do want to go ahead and just take out a few of the easy bosses just to get them out of the way already. Kree'arra really just drops so many different items, and therefore we'll be pretty much swapping out our entire gear set. So this is our outfit right now. It is a magic setup with a spear. These gear mismatches will be super tricky later down the line. Luckily, for now, they're not too bad yet. With Krill out of the way, we might as well go through the rest of the God Wars dungeon bosses, so let's go ahead and get on to Kree'arra. It is still so weird to be doing a boss with such mismatched gear, but honestly, at these lower level bosses, it should still be not that much of an issue. And there we go, that's Kree'arra down, that's half of the God Wars dungeon bosses done, excluding next of course. Next up is Kree'arra. Now we have a full melee set. Honestly, that's pretty solid. Again, it's not a huge deal to have the mismatches currently, but it will be nice. So let's jump onto the next God Wars boss here, which is gonna be Kree'arra. Oh, wait a second. I completely forgot that we can't use melee to take out Kree'arra. So it looks like we're gonna have to make some changes to our plans here. Okay, we've got a little bit of a change of plan here. Initially, my plan was to defeat every single God Wars 1 boss just to get them out of the way, then go on to do a single God Wars 2 boss and use that gear to defeat Araxxor. I was going to pick between either Vindicta for a full melee setup or Hellweir for a full magic setup. However, I completely forgot that Kree'arra can only be defeated with magic and ranged. We could theoretically do Zileana to get some crossbows, but the problem with getting Zileana and the crossbows first is we wouldn't really have any good bolts yet. We only really unlock decent bolts when we do Queen Black Dragon or Legions later down the line. So the plan has changed. Instead, we're going to be doing Hellweir right away right now, get the magic gear and go back to take out Kree'arra with them. After that, we'll take on Queen Black Dragon to finish up a full ranged set, and that is going to be our equipment that we go into Araxxor with. Alright, let's take this guy on. Get out of the way here, because we do not have a shield to resonance that. There we go, we actually were able to make use out of our EOF spec for the first time. Oh, we're taking a bit more damage than I would like. Alright, coming up at the end of the kill here. There we go, we actually did get a Dark Animica Core Helm drop as well, but with that, we can now upgrade our equipment to tier 80 magic weapon, which should be plenty to take on Kree'arra. Looking good. This is the first time I'll have to point out, I am doing this challenge on my Iron Man account, and so while I do have most of the drops in the game, I don't have all of them. So when I don't have something, like the Saren helmet, I will just replace it with a worse variant of the same item. Actually, it turns out that I have 11 crests, so I can actually make it. But that rule will still stand for in the future when we don't have an item. We don't have matching boots and gloves, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue, especially for a low-level boss like Kree'arra. There we go, let's take on Kree'arra. This should be pretty easy because we are a bit overpowered with this specific weapon setup, but again, we will be losing it very soon as we take out this boss. There we go, that's Kree'arra down.
With Kree'arra down, that marks the end of all the easy bosses we're doing this episode, and now it is time to move on to the most challenging parts of this episode.
We've got our tier 70 ranged armor, but sadly we still need to get our weapon. And we're gonna have to do that with a melee weapon. So, there is one little problem with this current setup. As you might be able to see, we do not have any anti-virus, so we'll have to be very careful at the Queen Black Dragon. But let's jump in, see what we can do. There we go. That's the first thing down. Ooh, we cannot be doing these walls incorrectly. That is essentially destroying an entire shark every time we get hit by one of those. Okay, let's make sure we do that correctly this time. Search through perhaps. There we go. That's a lot of little growth worms there. Okay, that's another wall. We were so lucky with all of those, to be honest. We should have been hit by at least one of those, but we completely ran through them. We are not even in the most deadly phase, and we are not doing hot. And we died. It's definitely doable if we get a bit better RNG, or if we just take a bit more food instead of prayer potions. Damn it! Ah! That's a bigger roadblock than I would have hoped, honestly. It's so annoying that we have to be in melee distance as well, because we have to really be careful with those walls. I gotta look back and see if there's any different things that I can still upgrade that I haven't thought about. And this is where I remembered Necromancy. You might have seen that Necromancy bosses are not on the list of bosses that we're doing. That is because they are simply not accessible by upgrading weapons in the way that we are doing, because we can never get access to Necromancy weapons. However, if we look back at our very first boss we killed, on its drop table we actually got both coins and pure essence. These are enough to buy ritual materials, turn the pure essence into impure essence, and then runecraft them into the necromancy runes. So that is exactly what we did. We are back at the Queen Black Dragon, but this time with necromancy runes, and these might honestly be the biggest upgrade we can get here, because this gives us access to both darkness, which is going to give us a 20% chance at dodging any incoming attacks. On top of that, we also have access to greater bone shield, which will allow us to do things like immortality when we're about to die, and barricade to get through the firewalls if we have to, as well as reflect to deal some of the damage that we get back. I definitely expect this to be a big enough buff to beat this guy, so let's put it up to the test. Let's start the fight here by doing darkness and drink our potions, and then let's get cooking. We also have access to resonance now if we get some good heals on this, like this 1.3k, and barricade just allows us to do some free damage completely safely. That being said, we're definitely not doing as well as I hoped. Yeah, we gotta be better at taking out those firewalls, because those deal so much damage. Going into the last phase now. Let's hope we can survive before he does a big hit. Ah, we didn't get it. But that's okay. Let's give that one more shot. There we go. We got to the first one without eating too much food. And we actually also didn't get one of those minions spawned, which is great. One growth worm, not too bad. The problem with the growth worms is that as soon as those spawn, we pretty much can no longer use resonance, because they're going to snipe them. So actually, let me take this guy out. That way we can resonance again, because the growth worm isn't going to snipe our resonance. With the blue phase, that is perfect. This is going to be the kill. It just has to be. Again. Oh, I didn't press it. That's choking behavior, but okay. Let's take out all the growth worms, just in case. This gotta be the first time I ever took out a single growth worm at QBD. I am so bad at these walls, it's crazy. Ah, let's get out of here. Ah, no! We should have had Kate up. Okay, but we definitely know it's possible, so let's once again run it back. I just realized that Kree'arra also drops Aventos seeds. This is gonna be a buff as well, as we can now use Aventos to create extreme attack potions. Let's see if this attack buff is what we needed to end up getting the kill. It seems like we're hitting pretty well now. I guess that's the attack potion putting in some work. This is looking good. We're not even getting a fire breath attack. Let's gate just for safety, and that, my friends, should be the QBD kill. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And there we go. This honestly shows a lot of the great loot in this coffer right away, because we now get bolts that we can use anytime we get a crossbow type of weapon that we have to use. And we also get Ceradomin Bruise, which is just a great thing to have when you're doing any kind of PVM. And with that, we now have a full ranged setup that we can use at Araxxor. Here we are at the Araxxor Hive, the boss that obviously has given me my name, and honestly I've not been here in years, and I have not used ranged in a very long time either, so this is going to be quite the interesting challenge kill, but I'm excited to see how it's gonna go. Again, we will be bringing along our Necromancy runes, as those are just an insanely huge upgrade for us by just allowing us to mitigate a lot of damage. Then we have some super potions, super restores, and some basic food. As for our equipment, we literally have just full armadillo, which is pretty nice to have, honestly, along with the royal crossbow and the royal bolts, which of course are both tier 80. And with that, let's jump right into the hive here. I'm not sure what type of aura I'm going to use. We'll start by trying Reckless, which is going to give us the most damage. We might have to swap that up for a more sustainability focused aura if this doesn't work out that well, but we'll just try this and see if it works out. And with that, we're going to use our damage mitigating Darkness, as well as the Bone Shield, which is nice to have, because this way we can use defensives without swapping to a shield. We've got path 1 blocked here today, which honestly would have been my preferred path to go down, as it's the quickest. Although with a low level setup like this, it might actually be nice to not have to deal with the minions. So instead we'll just go with the Darkness path, which I think is considered the safest. At least it was when I used to do this boss a lot. Which is, as I said, it's been years and years and years. Last time I really did this boss a lot. I think Talos was the newest thing in the game at that point. So let's just make an instance and jump right into this. Alright, let's make sure to get ourselves some potions. And then also, I do remember one thing, which is do not forget to burn down the web, because that is going to be painful if you've done all the HP and then you still have to wait for that to happen. We are already taking more damage than I would have liked, honestly, so let's see how far we can get. Alright, we've gone down on this phase, which is nice to see. Here's going to be Darkness path, so let's make sure we get into the light as quickly as possible, which I'm not seeing, which is unfortunate. Oh, there it is. There we go. Let's jump in there really quickly. Again, our food situation is not that great. We've already used quite a bit of food, and we are taking more damage than I would have liked. But that is fine. Also, a big thing here is you get your stats drained quite a bit. And that is very unfortunate because we don't have overloads. Yeah, there you go. The wall just breaks in one go. Last time I did Araxxor, that was not a thing. Honestly, I might just use a Kate here as well, because we can. And it's gonna save us a lot of food. We're gonna be able to heal up just a little bit. We really have to start using our defensives as much as we can, because we are clearly not doing enough damage to get through this quick enough. Oh no, I was going all in on that right as the web started. That is unfortunate. Alright, last phase with only 3 food. This is not looking that great for us, I have to say. We were actually honestly pretty close. If I'm swapping out a few items there, we will probably get it. I'm pretty satisfied with that first attempt. We are back, and we've made a few adjustments. We've swapped out a few of the super restores and instead bring a couple more sharks, because honestly, if we had those last attempt, we probably would have gotten the kill, as we were only 30k HP away. Another change I'm going to make is I'm going to go to Greater Bone Shield, because this is going to allow us to do Barricade for longer, as well as probably some of the other abilities will last longer. I forget which ones, honestly, but this is going to help us a lot. It should make our resonance stronger. All this stuff is, over the long term of the kill, definitely going to add up. We did use Kate quite a few times,
And it's just honestly such a great way to soul split and get some HP back, so definitely worth using in a challenge kill like this where speed doesn't matter. So with that said, let's just right click and jump straight back into this fight. Alright, I phased it a bit early there, but I think that should be fine, to be honest. Okay, let's hope Araxxor comes down here. There he is. And there we go. Alright, let's make sure to put our prayers back on. I haven't even been using darkness. That is such a waste of food. Alright, we have a lot more food this time around, which is obviously fantastic. I am messing up the prayer flicks this time around. I was doing way better last kill. So let's try to build up to some damage reduction abilities, because that allows me to take the stress off a little bit and just focus on some damage. We are so close, the little core is coming out now, so time to run around like a maniac. There we go, we have one food left, but we did it! Alright, Araxxor is down. Let's see if we can get some loot for our troubles. There we go. Obviously not a drop, but the overloads totally showcase why we wanted to do this boss this early. This is going to be a huge upgrade over anything we've had so far. As you can see, during this kill, and as well as a lot of other higher level bosses, your stats just drain so much. But with overloads, we will just be able to have 116 stats permanently that will never drop, which is honestly fantastic. These are the best potions that we can unlock in this run, because obviously there is no way to get crystal flasks from any of the bosses, so therefore we cannot make any of the higher level overloads, but this is going to be a massive game changer. Of course, beating Araxxor is going to give us access to one of the tier 90 weapons of choice, but I will keep my choice for the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack a like on it. This one took so long to make and I had so much fun doing so. Huge shout out to all the channel members and Twitch subscribers who are the main reason why I can put this much time into making my videos the best they can be. I'll probably be live as I upload this video, so come check us out on Twitch and say hi. Make sure to subscribe for the next episode.